Hi, my name is Sandy Martin, and I'm going to be drawing upon art, politics, and technology and how this all pertains to family vlogging. So, Edelman states that ideological narratives shape public belief and opinions so that when families and mothers are creating content that is circled around their personal lives, the images that they create and the ideologies that they perpetuate can sway political beliefs. So, for some background context, the internet was created in 1983, and the first social media site that was created with it followed in 1997. And this was basically a modern day LinkedIn, kind of suggesting that it was for networking between like coworkers and cohorts. The first so-called mommy blog was created by Melinda Roberts in 2002, and YouTube was established in 2005. So, some history of child labor laws mainly are based and focused around Jackie Coogan, who was a child actor who starred alongside Charlie Chaplin. Jackie Coogan, when he turned 21, he discovered that his parents had spent all of the money that he had earned as a child. And so, thus, leading to the creation of Coogan accounts, which states that a minimum amount of earnings have to be placed into a child's trust that they cannot access until they're 21. So, once they grow up and have the cognitive ability to make responsible spending decisions, they're able to go and access that and have a more adequate life and live a long life of prosperity economically. And a modern day example of this is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette McCurdy, where she was very much so like Jackie Coogan, exploited by her mother and left with no money. So tying this back into arts, how a lot of this viewership of family content is drawn in is based on the fact that all of these families on the outside seem super relatable, and they showcase these children in their thumbnails and in their names and titles of their video to attract stewardship of parents. So, one, the parents can feel as if they can get parenting advice and also have inspiration on what their life could be like. And these videos also tie in and bring in a lot of children, as it's super family friendly and features content that like is super digestible and okay for children to consume. Um, so when family vloggers don't put their children into the thumbnails or the titles of the videos, they oftentimes are not getting the viewership that they do when they do put their children into the names and the titles and the thumbnails of the videos. So some examples of this are the LeBrant family, where when they feature their children either in the thumbnail or the title of their video, they generate about an average of 1.2 million views. But when they don't, they average about 1 million views. Going forward, this can be seen too with the Ace family, who, when their children are featured in the thumbnail or the title, generate about 1.6 million views, but when they don't, they only generate about 623,000. Same with Bits of Brie. Um, Next, she when she features her children, she gets about 44,000 views, but when she doesn't, it's about 27.8 thousand. And lastly, with Brooke Raybald, we can also see her fitting into this trend where when she features her kids, she gets about 987,000 views versus 27.8 thousand kids when views when her kids are not featured. There are definitely pros. Like I'm talking very negatively, but there are pros um about mommy blogs. So one of these being it's a good way for mothers to find community of like-minded individuals and to feel support in their struggles, happiness, and general experiences. It also makes easier for women to transition into new parenthood as they're able to find resources and information to help them with their struggles. In addition, it increases marital satisfaction by giving women a larger network of people to reach out to aside from their spouse, and it helps women manage their expectations versus reality of parenthoods, because there are a lot of imposed expectations for mothers in the media. But there are also, as there are benefits, consequences. So some of the consequences of this is that mothers can compare themselves to each other, which can lead to them feeling discouraged about their own parenting styles. That leads to exploiting in the privacy of their children that they are writing about, and the conceptualization of the life on the family on a public level that leads to scrutiny that the children face for long times to come. And this can include the children being bullied in school, facing public scrutiny from strangers, and also even futures of unemployment. Children do not have their own voice to speak on the experiences that they're going through. And once again, going back to the art of it all, what the craft that these mothers are creating and generating um, might not accurately represent what they're going through, and the children not being able to speak on it can be really harmful. Um, Likewise, with family vlogging, there are some benefits. They are super entertaining and they are child appropriate most of the time and give children safe social media content to consume, which may be different from other forms of content that may not be as uh, child digestible and child friendly. Tying this back into politics from a feminist political perspective, family vlogging is good because it allows labor to also shape our political and social and economic world while still performing the mundane duties of motherhood. It allows women to make an adequate living that they otherwise might not while they're able to stay at home with their children. But some of the consequences that go along with this is that family vlogs are highly produced rather than giving a good example of what it is really like in their family home. It gives a more polished version that does not paint the racist, classic, or other gendered realities that are associated with parenting. This highly produced nature can be in the clips that they're uploading, how they edit the clips to look. And also, too, like a lot of these families make a lot of money through viewerships and ad sponsors. So it makes their lives as an American, like, family look a lot more cushy than it is for most people. These vlogs also generate a lot of revenue through advertisements and sponsorships due to the work of their children. And there are very limited laws to protect the amount of income that is set aside for these children in ways that like a child actor might through the Coogan accounts. Children of family vlogging have no explicit laws stating the hours or days that they can work. And since this takes place in the home, there are even further disconnects between what is work versus what is pleasure at home. Children and family vlogs are not subjected to having the earnings their parents make off of them put into Coogan accounts. And for the following reasons listed above and previously stated, this can lead to public scrutiny, long-term economic disparity for these children who have been working a lot, and loss of employment in the future. It also blurs the line and creates a really harmful relationship dynamic between what is an employer versus what is a parent. Some examples of family vloggers and other content creators pushing their political beliefs and images through the content that they create are listed now above in these images. One of the first one being abortion by the LeBrant family, which basically promotes family life clinics rather than other more reputable sources such as like Planned Parenthood, and really is preaching to their very young child audiences the importance of like pro-life ideologies, Christianity. And even in this video, they compare the abortion rate in the United States to numbers of the Holocaust, saying that is one of the worst genocides that have taken place to date. Much like this, Ruby Franke and Jody Hildebrandt and their Connections Foundation, they use Christian values or warped Christian values to promote really harmful parenting rhetoric, which includes very high expectations of their children. And when these expectations aren't being met, these expectations are being met with super radical punishments. The big lawsuit came out of this whole Connections Foundation, and now both of these women are in jail for abusing their children under the pretenses of religious values. And lastly, I just kind of want to touch on Taylor Franke Paul and Mormon Mom Talk and the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. And in this media, television, and personal content creation, They're using their religious beliefs of being part of the LDS church and being Mormon, and they're warping and finding loopholes in what's in the book and then partying and exposing their children to really harmful things and saying that it's okay because it's fine in their religious beliefs when really they're taking these texts and warping them into a way that is super, super not okay. And going back to all of it, like all of these content creators, they have really young audiences, and exposing the children to these sort of narratives, they can really personally warp their own political and religious ideologies that can be super harmful to them in a way that they might not be able to even understand because their minds are still developing. And um, a lot of this is done based on how they edit their videos. Again, the art, the aesthetic of all of it. And yeah, so with that being said, we are seeing a lot of personal critics of what is happening in on the internet and trying to like create a safe space for them. One of these being Senator Elizabeth Warren. And Senator Elizabeth Warren, she believes that children should have greater protection from exploitation, and she wants to put in place laws that protect children's images, specifically how media sites process information and data about these children that are placed on social media. There are other lobbying groups such as the National Children's Alliance and the Children's Advocacy Center who aim to make sure that children are not being exploited for profits and are urging that parents involved with family vlogging make sure that they allocate portions of their earnings into trusts such as Coogan accounts for their children. And finally, the FTC created the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, or COPPA, and it is one of the only federal laws that is placed around content creation and children on a federal level, and it regulates the data collected and distributed from the content. So to build off of this further, there's some working legislation currently being passed to further protect these children. So two states, Minnesota and Illinois, currently have new legislation as of July 2024 that states that family vloggers that feature their children in their contents and profit off of it must set aside a portion of their earnings away into trusts that go towards their children, much like a Coogan account, which is something that the Children's Advocacy Center and the National Children's Alliance are also pushing for. In Minnesota specifically, there has been a state law that's similar to this that prohibits children under the age of 14 to engage in the process of content creation. It also requires adults associated with this content creation to delete footage that features them before the age of 18. There are 8 other states that have similar laws in the process of being passed to this. So this is kind of an ongoing new Alaska's like last frontier sort of thing where people are making strides to make these changes. And then going back on COPPA, the COPPA imposes certain requirements on operators of websites or online services directed to children under the age of 13, and on the operators of other websites or online services that have actual knowledge that they are collecting personal information from children under the age of 18. So with all of this being said, let's protect our children, and due to the aesthetics and the art that these families are making by placing their lives and their family into the public eye, they're creating really warped perception on not only religion, but also political ideologies that are shaping America's youth today. I hope you guys have a great day.